I need a guarantee. How do I know you can deliver?
You don't, but I can.
Have you come to kill me? I've been waiting for someone.
Someone from a half-remembered dream?
Cobb? Impossible. We were young men together. I'm an old man,
Filled with regret?
waiting to die alone.
I've come back for you, to remind you of something you once knew. That this world is not real.
To convince me to honor our arrangement?
To take a leap of faith, yes. Come back, so we can be young men together. Again, come back with me. Come back. And that was a screen read from the film Inception, which is the film that Colin and I are going to review this morning. Okay, so how are you, Colin? We'll get to Colin, who is Professor Miles. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I just inserted my name in the middle. Yeah, I'm just still trying to get my head right after watching this film last night. I was like, oh my god, I need to review that.
Aye. It's one of the films I've wanted to review in a long, long time, to be honest with you. It's kind of right down my street with all the themes and stuff like that. So,
Do you mean
I'm
right
glad
up your
we're doing
street?
right up my street, and exactly, I like it. Yeah, good one.
Right down your street?
It's late in the morning, mate, to be honest with you. I am your host, James, aka Cobb. So first, things first, we do want to apologise for the absence of episode this week. We did want to try and get this recorded earlier than now, but just because life got in the way, we just couldn't get to it. So we do apologise for our hundreds of listeners and viewers. So it'll be with you soon, we promise. So before we go into the actual episode itself, just going to do a wee bit of housekeeping before that. So you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. You can watch and listen to us on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other places you listen to your podcasts. Okay, so check us out, guys. If you like us, then please share with your friends and enemies. Also, we are still wanting to get Gary a new microphone. He is the other member of the Seismic Soccer team. So if you go to buymeacoffee.com/Seismic Cinema and help donate money to give or to help Gary get a microphone. I'm doing well this morning. Okay, and last but not least, we are part of the PodPack Collective. There's roughly 10 members on there. There might be added members the time this comes out, but there's too many to shoot out. But if you just go onto the PodPack Collective Twitter page, you'll see the load of different independent podcast people there. So please check them out. Full of nice people and good banter into the bargain as well. Okay, so that leads us on to our episode of Inception. So before I ask you about your background in the film, Colin, I'm just going to do a wee bit of the kind of the cast and things. So film's Inception was released in 2010, 16th of July 2010. The cast was Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Elliot Page, Tom Hardy, Ken Watanabe. I said that wrong, I do apologise. Dilip Rao, again, probably said that wrong. Michael Caine and Marine Cotillard. It was written and directed by none other than Christopher Nolan. The score was by Hans Zimmer. The budget for the film was 160 million, and it took 839 million. So it did really, really well. So before we do go into it, I want to give a short synopsis of the film. So Inception is a 2010 science fiction film directed by Christopher Nolan. It follows Dom Cobb, a thief who specialises in stealing secrets from within a subconscious during a dream state. Cobb is offered the chance to have his criminal record erased if he can perform Inception, which is planting an idea in someone's mind. To accomplish this, he assembled a team to infiltrate dreams, which is the heir to a business empire. It was Robert Fisher, played by Cillian Murphy. I missed him, actually, in the cast. I know he listens to this podcast, so I do apologise, Cillian. As they delve deeper into their dreams, Cobb must face his own troubled past and the haunting presence of his deceased wife, Mal. So that's just a basic synopsis, mate, but it's a lot more than that. So that's the synopsis. So before we go into the actual film itself, Colin, what was your when did you first see the film, in fact, and what was your first impressions of it without giving too much away?
I think I was privy to a wee bit of Inception here because, see, in the lead up to watching it for the review, I had it in my head I'd definitely seen it, but see, when I watched it, I don't know if I actually have seen it, you know, that way. Or maybe there was a similar film I watched way back when that I thought was. Do you know I don't know if I think Paul maybe mentioned something similar when he watched his Pulp Fiction review. He always felt like he'd seen Pulp Fiction, but he never actually had. I think there was a wee bit of that in play. I think there was maybe a similar film that was maybe. Well, can you think of any similar films or kind of similar subject matter around about that time that maybe I'm confusing it with?
Can't off the top of my head, mate. No, it's maybe one of those films that you've maybe just seen.
Or maybe I did. Maybe I did see it, and then it was just so long ago that I forgot the whole film. But I can just play it off by saying that maybe someone implanted a memory in an idea in my head that I'd seen it. So it's in keeping with the spirit of the film, anyway.
Aye. So, well, kind of seen it for the first time. Then let's just say that.
I don't think it was though. Just
No,
before people get at me, I'm sure I have seen it, but I think it was just so long ago that it felt like a fresh viewing.
Well, it's good that, isn't it? Because I often, like, whenever I kind of recommend TV shows and stuff like that or films to people, it's like, oh, I wish I was seeing that for the first time again through fresh eyes. Seeing it for the second time, third time, it's not the same as seeing it for the first time. So,
see if you like things like that. Casting Views do a great Mind Wipe series.
That's right, and you were on one, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So check the Casting Views, who is also a member of the PodPack Collective. So for me, I seen it in the pictures 2010. I was blown away by it, mate, to be honest with you. It was one of those films I came out and going, wow. And then, like, it's one of the films where you came out of the cinema and you're like totally talking about it for ages. And then you're just questioning it on, and it's like, I just really want to see that again. I never did. Only saw it once in the cinema. But when it came out in DVD, I bought it, mate, because it's just one of those ones I bought right on the, when it was released in DVD. Yeah. So
it would have been. There's a lot of great shots in it that would have been good. I didn't see it in the cinema, but if it ever came out again, maybe a re-release on an anniversary, then I would definitely try and get to it.
Definitely. Okay then. So before we get into that, because the film is not really, as the film starts, it's not really in balance. So the film starts with...
What's the word you're looking for there, Jim?
Equilibrium. So it's not in sync. So the film starts off with Cobb kind of being washed up to the shore, and he meets Sato, which is our screen read, and the viewer's like, well, what's going on here? This is kind of totally not what I'm expecting, because again, there's no start, middle, or end to the film, where the start is the end. So it kind of started off quite strangely. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Although I think that's set the tone for the rest of the film, that things weren't quite in the right order.
Aye. I do like films like that, to be honest with you. Like I said in the Pulp Fiction episode, it's right down up my street.
This film really put me in the mood to watch Shutter Island again, I think.
It came out at the same time as Shutter Island, didn't it?
Yeah.
2010.
It's got quite a lot of similarities with the like memories and maybe like misremembering certain memories and all that kind of stuff. And
That's true. Especially with the femme fatale who's in it as well, which we'll come on to. Right, so obviously we spoke about, Inception. He's got to perform this heist, but there's a lot of stuff that happens before that. So, that Dom Cobb is the skilled kind of thief who extracts and is able to plant ideas into people's heads, minds through dreams. But there's a few things that kind of came before the Inception heist, which if I went through them all, it would be here all day. But I just kind of want to kind of get your overview of it all, Colin. So I'm just going to kind of rhyme off what happens before the actual Inception heist. So we've got the job with Sato. So as the dream of the start of the film pans away, we're in a job with Sato. And that's basically, again, without even knowing, it's like a dream within a dream. And they're trying to, they're at the table, they're trying to get what's in the vault or the safe. And then you see like a sequence of action scenes there, which is really good. We've got the offer of Inception because of the job with Sato failed essentially, but Sato's seen it as a test, and he wanted to use Cobb for this further idea of Inception. So before I go into any more, because I don't want to go too many just now, but what was your
you don't want to go too deep.
Too deep too early to now? So because I end up losing myself, mate, and I don't want to end up in what's it called again?
You don't want to be
Aye. So what's your take on the kind of failed job with Sato, and then basically him offering the job to Cobb after him failing as such?
So is this will be the bit where they get on the helicopter?
Aye.
Yeah. It's it's an interesting concept. See the bit that we're talking about where they said it was a technique used in like the army and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that actually true, or is that just made up for the film?
I think it's made up for the film, mate. I don't think so.
Well, you never know. Like,
I could be wrong, mate. I didn't do that much research into that, but yeah, so it could be.
Yeah. No, I think it's obviously the start of the film is just a bit mental, isn't it? Like, you don't know how he ends up there, and then there's all the kind of action sequences, and I think it sets up the rest of the film, because obviously it leads on to the bit you described off air as like the Avengers assembling. So I think it kind of clearly sets up what's happening. Although, what do you make of like the whole kind of like aim being to like stop somebody or get somebody to break up a business? Like, it's quite a simple concept, but obviously the film's a lot deeper than that. Like, that's just maybe like do you think that was a great setup for like the extraction of the memory, like breaking up the business, or do you think that's not that important and it's the important part's just like the relationships and the developing the technique of Inception?
I think it's all. Firstly, I think the idea is a very simple idea to break up an empire, but it's no simple because it's got to come from him.
Mm-hmm.
When they gave the analogy of like an elephant, think of an elephant, and it's like, well, what do you think about an elephant? Well, that idea didn't come from you; they came from him. So, in order for Inception to take place, it has to come from a more complicated way of doing it, rather than actually having to just say, by the way, just break up your father's empire and that's the end of it. It's got to come from a a deeper angle.
Mm.
And that's where the relationship with him and his father came into play, isn't it? Because it's not as easy as that. And in order to dig deeper into the relationship for them, they had to go deeper into a more dream state.
Yeah, that was the scene with the what was Murphy's character again?
Robert Fisher.
Fisher. The scene with him and his dad towards the end was a good kind of like twist, I suppose, because obviously he'd interpreted the situation differently at the start.
Aye, that's it. So let's see what obviously before they got into the helicopter and stuff, because the start scene was when Sato was old, but then it cut to them at the table when Sato was young.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that it's this, the same table, same kind of background and stuff, but Sato was young and he was old in the previous scene, and that was like, whoa, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? But DiCaprio's character Cobb was the same age. So
but he was all suited up, I suppose.
Aye, yeah, because he was.
You could tell immediately something different was happening.
Aye. So that was a good scene in terms of the action and stuff as well. It failed essentially because of Mal. Because Mal was always in the background of Bob's dreams.
Pesky Mal.
Yeah, indeed. Which Mal was a very good name for her, really, because the translation of Mal it means bad
or ill.
Or ill.
I watched that YouTube video too.
Oh, I knew that.
Oh, did you already know it? Well, I watched a YouTube video then.
You're gonna credit the YouTube video here because this is all came from me, mate. Because
it was a YouTube channel called The Why. 30 Facts You Didn't Know About Inception. There you go.
All right, I'm interested to see that then, because but Mal means bad or ill, which really she's both in the film. And it's quite as you develop into her character and how she becomes who she is, it's quite sad as well.
Do you know who else was considered for the role?
No.
Kate Winslet was heavily in consideration. So a wee Titanic reunion.
Aye.
And if you like Titanic reunions, we did a review of it.
Yep, check that out after you watch this.
And there was a really weird one, like totally bizarre. Oh no, it wasn't this. It was the other character, the architect.
Yeah, the guy with the long hair.
No.
Are you talking about the one that was assembled? Ariane?
Aye. Taylor Swift was considered for the role. Like, no joke.
All right, was she? All right.
Which is bizarre.
I didn't know that. Aye, I'm quite glad that Taylor Swift didn't get the role, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So we kind of move on then, because obviously he's been offered the job of Inception, and then it's like, well, and Sato basically says you can't use that architect because he gave you up too easily. He was a liability essentially. So he had to assemble the team. The team was a great cast, I think. You had Arthur, who's Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He is the trusted partner and point man. So he kind of goes with Cobb everywhere he goes, really. His right-hand man. We've got Eames, who's played by Tom Hardy. He's a skilled forger, impersonating others within dreams. We've got Ariadne, who's a talented architect, who's a student. I can't remember what university or college she's at, but I know that Michael Caine is the professor. He's the one that actually, his father-in-law into it. So he's the one that basically recommends Ariadne.
I was surprised we didn't see more of Michael Caine. He was only really in the one scene.
There's a reason for that, mate. I'm going to come on to it.
Okay, it's basically a Nolan Batman trilogy reunion. This film, isn't it?
I know. Only that there's no.
Murphy was in it as well, wasn't he?
That's right. Aye, there's no Bale though, and there's no what's his name? What's his name now? Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, but pretty much everyone else was there. I've not seen I've not actually seen Oppenheimer yet because unfortunately my local cinema didn't get it. But I'm assuming it was great. Is it something Nolan does a lot with these kind of like similar actors?
I think they just work with the people they can trust. I mean, it's like Scorsese who works with, he's worked with DiCaprio a few times and De Niro, and so you know what you're going to get from them, I suppose. I suppose with John Carpenter, with Jack, no Jack, what's his name? Jack Burton, I was going to say, Kurt Russell. So the last in the team is Yusuf, who's the chemist who creates powerful sedatives that's used for multi-layered dreams. Now, it's an important thing here to say that the sedative that Yusuf creates is only allows for 3 leveled dreams. Anything further than that, you drop into limbo. That's important for the end of the film. Okay.
A dream within a dream within a dream.
Yes. So they go through their plan and their training and stuff like that. And what was your take on, see, John, the planning of the Inception, what they're going to do and things? Obviously, Cobb, he gets Ariane to create mazes that he finds difficult to escape, and he's not to know the layout of the maze, because obviously if he knows the layout of the maze, then that's where Mal would be able to infiltrate.
Yeah.
And then you see him explaining the dream state and tear and things like that, and basically, Mal appears. What was your kind of take on Mal kind of infiltrating the dreams at the start when he was going through the training exercises? Did you have a feeling that she would maybe end up at the end and maybe ruin the idea of Inception being planted?
I think it was like probably the most important part of the film was his relationship, because one of the very first, I think when he first washes up on the beach, you see his kids, and then you obviously find out that he's not seeing his kids, but you don't know why at first, and then obviously you see Mal, and then it's obvious there's something going on there, and then you obviously find out she is not alive, but then you don't find it all out at once. I like the way they kind of unraveled it slowly, because you find out later on that like he can't see his kids. There's obviously a reason, but it's because he was like he would essentially go to jail for her murder. Yeah, it's quite an interesting one, because obviously he loves his wife, and she obviously went a bit kind of mad, thinking like not knowing what reality she was in. So it must have been like he's quite a tragic character, Cobb, really, isn't he? Like what he went through with his wife uh, killing herself, and the fact she just keeps coming back. It's obviously really straining him, because he just doesn't want anything to do with the, as you say, with the planning. And there was a funny scene where it's like she appears, and there was a bit where it's like, oh, you've met his wife or something, or what was it? Is that quote? It was like something like,
Oh, he goes, oh, so you met Mrs. Cobb then?
it's like, oh, that's the wife. No, I think it was an aspect of the film I particularly liked, was seeing him go through the process of essentially letting go, and the kind of impact it was having, because it was a horrible situation. See the bit where he's seen his kids in the garden, and that's obviously the bit that kind of transitions to the beach at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear what I think's is it his mum that looks after the kids?
Is it not?
Is it Cobb's mum, or is it?
Is it not the professor?
Yeah, but you hear a woman's voice as well, do you not?
I'm sure.
Is it maybe Michael Caine's character and his wife that
Maybe,
raised the kids?
yes, it is.
And he's obviously wanting to go out the garden to see them, but then there's like some kind of agent who's like basically going out, or you're going to jail. What was the story about that agent then? Like, why was he so keen to like let him escape? Was there anything else connected to that?
I'm not sure. I think Cobb's just kind of like he's he's a skilled. He's good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And people were always looking for, for his special skill set. So it's maybe, I don't know if he was in on it or whatever, but obviously the company runs away from it at the start. Is it Cobalt Industries or something?
Yeah.
Like that? So that's how he basically who he failed with the Sato the Sato dream kind of heist, and then they're looking for him because of that. So I mean, if I reckon they're worth millions of pounds. So and not everybody can do it, and not everybody can get a team the way he can. So I think maybe his skill set is maybe worth more. I don't know if that's why he was let go. I'm not sure. To be honest with you.
So going back to Mal, just so I can get this right in my head, because obviously it's a very complex film. Is it they were both kind of experimenting with the dreams, and did they both go too deep at the same time, and that's how they ended up in limbo? Were they together when that happened? Yeah.
So they built the unconscious dream state together, and they
Uh-huh.
built all their kind of childhood memories. That's why he always says, "Don't ever build from memories,"
Mm-hmm.
because then essentially that's why Mal comes back, because he's building for memories.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically saying, "Do as I say, not as I do."
Yeah.
That's what happens because when Ariande is like, "Oh, I know this place," and sorry, he says that, "I know this place. This is X and Y and Z," and he's basically saying, "Oh, you don't never build for memories," because that's what he done in Limbo. But they were experimenting during Limbo, and then what happened was that she was unable to know which one was the real reality. Essentially,
I know we would get to this anyway, but this isn't a film that obviously follows that kind of linear path. So that scene where Ariadne's kind of walking through the town and she's like creating like the bridges and the mirrors, I think that's one of my favorite sequences in the whole film. Like the visuals there, and like when you see the city basically go like upside down and they just like walk up the building and then it just kind of transitions back. I really like that aspect. I also liked how they used like the elevator as like showing the different levels of the dream. So it's like you're going down from first. That's a really good analogy. And then it's like she goes to press like the ground floor button, and he stops her. It's like, oh, what's there? So he's obviously that's where he's keeping her essentially. So I really like the visuals in that scene, and I really like the kind of the idea of the levels of the elevator. I thought that was really well done.
no, the visuals were excellent. See the shot was the physics of the whole dream. So like the roads are going up the way, and they're basically going round, and so that was good. But the bit we're sitting at the coffee shop, and the windows explode, and so that again, it's just a bit they're just kind of sitting. All that was again mind blowing, really.
It's interesting what we're doing. You asked a question and we went off on a tangent, but what we really did was just go kind of deeper into the dreams.
And that's fine. That's all right. So so training's been done, planning's been done, and now we're on to the first level dream, which is Yusuf's dream. So I've actually written this down. So the setting is rainy city streets, and the objective of this dream is to kidnap Fisher and begin the Inception process. Now, I like this bit. Obviously, before I go into that, actually, what I'm going to do, one of the kind of cool bits in the film is they've got to find a time how long it will take to perform this Inception. It's like 10 hours, isn't it? And the only flight they had was from Sydney to LA. And he's like, well, I need to go and buy a 747.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, because the pilot's downstairs or whatever it is, and you've got the captain to yourself. And he goes, well, I just bought the whole airline.
That for me was that was probably my favorite line in the film.
That's good. There's a few funny scenes. So on the plane, and they perform the first level Inception, which is just a dream, as I said. And then you cut to the scene, and it's raining, it's lashing after Grun, and it's like quite as Yusuf's dream. They say to him, "You couldn't have laid off the champagne, could you have?" Because obviously it's his dream. He needs to go to the toilet instantly in his head. He's dreaming. It's raining. He's busting for a pee. So that's why it was raining. So it was quite good. I like that. So I have to plant the seed for Inception to happen. Now there's quite a lot of happens in this. They kidnap him essentially. What was your, if you can remember, because it's quite a detailed dream, this one. What was your overall views of the first dream of the capturing Fisher and then being able to try and extract something from his subconscious, because they're trying to get numbers from him, aren't they?
Yeah, so is this the bit where they're like where he's had his blindfold taken off and they're trying to get the numbers?
Aye.
So he's not very conscious at first of. He's obviously not very aware at first of what's happening, and he doesn't seem to have any idea what the numbers might be. But then they're like, "Oh, it might be numbers that are like particularly meaningful to you and your dad." But that's where they kind of like dig deeper into their relationship, saying, "Well, we didn't have a lot of like important moments together." So that obviously shines a lot of light. What's interesting though is see how he was hearing the words like disappointed. Seeing like the original bit, then did he just leave without? Did he just like hear that and then leave the room because he didn't want to hear any more? Because you know how like later on
I says it.
he goes back and he hears like, "I was disappointed you tried to be me." So like the original time round, did he just like leave the room, or did he just mishear him? Or be interesting to see what that point was.
But there's certain things they say and they do in every dream state, so they carry it forward so you don't forget it. But the numbers are recurring, and certain words that they say are recurring as well, because it has to filter through. But the one thing I didn't say was that Eames is disguised as Browning, which is Fisher's kind of, I don't know, right hand man, advisor, something like that.
That bit kind of confused me a wee bit, how he was able to take on the form. Is it just because he had been like kind of observing him a wee bit in terms
Aye,
of
so his mannerisms and that. So that's what he.
So how did they make him visually look the same?
How do you mean?
Like obviously,
It's not like
Fish,
Mission Impossible.
no, like Fisher obviously was seeing Tom Hardy's character looking like his dad's, like his uncle, but like was that just something that they set up in the dream that he would see him as his uncle? If that
Well,
makes sense.
he is a forger, so his skill, it doesn't really delve into how it actually happens, or how it,
Yeah.
how he sees it, that. But he's a skilled forger. He did say at one point that he studies the mannerisms. So during the planning, that was what he had to do, was to,
because he's sitting outside the office at one point, isn't he? When there's or not the office of the hospital.
So he's basically like, but you don't hear in that dream. You don't see. Fisher doesn't see his uncle Browning getting interrogated. He just hears it. So because he's been kidnapped, he's obviously a wee bit of a panic. He's come to the conclusion that he doesn't want his uncle to get hurt, and so the numbers that asked of him come. And what they don't expect is that, Cobb does go mental here, is that that Fisher's got security, so subconscious security, and that wasn't detailed.
Yeah. That was something I quite liked. Like, see when they're walking about the dreams, and if they like mention something about it, like being a dream or whatever, the NPCs, which I've heard them described as, just start kind of giving them dirty looks and start pushing them and fighting them and all sorts.
That's good. That because they know there's a everything's not right here. Do you know what I mean? They just look at them and then they've got to try and continue.
This film has made the concept of dreams is something that I am actually quite interested in. Like, there's the whole, you'll probably heard it yourself, the whole concept of how like the NPCs in our dreams are people, are faces that you've seen at some point, whether it was on holiday or in a shop, or like the faces we see are real people that we've seen at some point. They're not totally made up, because I don't think we can actually make up a human face, if that makes sense.
No, it has to be constructed from somewhere, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at this point, mate, in the dream, the security follows them to the kind of warehouse where they're kind of keeping Fisher and Browning, and security are outside shooting in. And then what happens is that Sato gets shot. I think he gets shot actually out. He gets shot in the taxi. I can't remember now. But he gets shot anyway and he's carried in.
He does get shot in the taxi. Yeah.
He gets shot in the taxi. But, you know, as I've not explained yet, if you're killed in a dream, then you are instantly woken up.
Is that mirrored after like real life, where if you fall in a dream, you wake up?
I think it might be, aye. I think you've all kind of, you know, stepped off a curb, or you're falling, or you get. One I used to get was, you know, somebody, you know, battered a ball off you, and you would get that kind of jump.
You ever had the dream where all your teeth fall out?
Aye.
Do you know what that means?
I don't know. I don't really like listening or watching what they all mean, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you what it means. It means you were anxious about something, if that one happens.
All right. I have I've had this is for a tangent here, but hey, I've seen I was younger, and I still get them to this day actually, is the dreams about planes. So I get dreams about planes where I'm on the plane, or I see a plane either crashing or I'm in it when it's crashing.
Have you been watching Lost?
No, but funny enough, actually, I was watching Inception because I watched it. Obviously, I went to record this a while ago, and I watched this a while ago. But I wonder if it was because of this. Now, the plane doesn't crash as such in this, but they're on a plane. And I don't know if that's just enough to trigger me. But I'm not scared of flying or anything, you know what I mean? Actually, I don't mind the plane.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd. Anyway.
I watched Lost. I was watching Lost like roundabout when I was going on holiday at one point. So I'm on a plane just deep in Lost mode, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here?
Hoping for a doctor on board. Or no. Who's Sawyer? Who's Kate? Who's going to be that person?
Lost has made me a lot more considerate of where I sit on a plane now.
They did I remember when Lost came out, they did a thing on BBC, I think it was, and you had to basically find the safest seat on the plane. You know
you just don't want to sit on the wings, because then you're responsible for the aircraft.
I've had that
in emergency.
I've been put there before, but I think it was when a boys' holiday. I was put there, and I'm going reading it, and you got to be responsible for because the doors there and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going, I'm not the right person for this.
I'm definitely not the right person for that.
So basically, what happens is, if you're killed in a dream, you wake up, but that's not the case in this, because what happens, because the sedative that Yusuf creates, it's too powerful. So if you're killed in a dream, you fall into limbo, which is the unconstructed dream space. So you don't want to be dying in a dream.
Is limbo basically like a coma in the real world?
Aye.
I would say,
yeah. Which is, it's a shared dream space as well, which it means so whoever's been in limbo can see what they've built. That's why when they later in the film, when Cobb goes back, you can see that everything that he built, which was, you say it was loads, and obviously Sato had built his own kind of where he was at the start of the film.
So when we say built, they're meaning built in their they've imagined it, not that they've actually done all the constructions themselves, I assume.
We thought about it, they had bricks and mortar and all sorts, mate.
At one point I pictured Leo just so it's more of a visual thing.
Of course, aye, that's what I mean by that. And then so they leave the warehouse. They have to be able to. They can't stay in the warehouse, obviously, because of the security. So they can't perform the next level of the dream there. So they have to make a getaway, and the getaway they make is in a van. Yusuf is driving. Obviously, Sato is in dire straits at this point, and they have to go deeper now. So the next dream they go into in the van when it's raining, and bear in mind Yusuf is being chased by security at this point, so his driving's a little bit chaotic. The next dream is Arthur's dream, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The setting is a luxury hotel, and the objective in this case is to convince Fisher that he's been trained to defend his mind and to extract information about his father's will. Now,
But was there not a bit earlier where, unless I'm misremembering this, he had been trained, and there was something that Cobb didn't mention that put them all in danger when they were in the warehouse. Am I right in saying that?
I'm not sure.
Remember there was something that Cobb didn't think about, but then Arthur knew it. There was withheld information at some point where they were like Arthur and Cobb had a wee bit of a disagreement.
The information that he withheld was about falling into limbo, was it not? So he knew that if they died during that heist at any possible level, they would.
That was it. Yeah, I just remember because they got on really well, but that was like the one bit of the film where they were at loggerheads a wee bit.
A bit of tension. Aye. So during this one, this is where Mr. Charles comes out, and Mr. Charles is basically Leonardo DiCaprio's kind of alter ego, if you want to call it that. Basically, it's a projection of Fisher's subconscious to make him believe that he's undergoing training to defend his mind. So basically, they do this because they know the security details on Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
So Cobb's trying to convince him that that he's the person that's trying to defend them and not them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a nice hotel, I would say. The setting is a little bit more controlled, I would say. It's not exactly wet and wild. It's it's in a nice environment. They can kind of move about the business and do things a little bit. A bit more freely, but Mr. Charles comes in to convince Fisher that he is the person to defend him. And again, as dreams always are, they never have a start end. So they never have a start, middle, or end. Really, they kind of just go right into it, and that's what happens. They're stuck right into a bar. We've got Eames, who takes the image of a blonde-haired woman talking to Fisher. The Capo's beside him, or he comes over to them. The woman gives the number to him. Again, the numbers that reflect from the previous dream.
Yeah.
And then that's when he starts to talk about the subconscious, the dreams, and extraction, being able to help him stay safe and things. What do you remember about this scene, mate? This kind of level, and then what was your take on the zero gravity aspect of it as well?
So I didn't clock what was Tom Hardy's character called again? Is it Eames? Eames. I didn't clock at first that he was the blonde woman, so there was quite a funny scene on the elevator where he comes face to face, and then they discover what's happening. So that bit was interesting. I liked the whole concept of trying to convince Fisher that like he was able to kind of protect himself. As you said, the zero gravity scenes were excellent. Very visually pleasing. And I heard, and I think that YouTube video was talking about that Gordon Lewitt, he performed all the stunts apart from one apparently.
I read that as well.
So that was interesting. I like one of my other I talked about a couple of bits of the film that I like. I like where like the kind of reality and the dream kind of like converge, like when they get thrown in, like that's another good scene actually when Cobb falls backwards into the bath to kind of wake him up, and how like the water then comes through to the dream as well. I like how I like when like things like that happen. I'm trying to think what else happened on that level.
So they go to the bar. You've got what's his name? Sato kind of steals a wallet and he takes them for a merry chase, doesn't he? So they're all distracted. What else happens?
What was the wallet? The wallet's worth
$500 alone. $500 alone.
There was quite a funny scene. I think it was in the warehouse where Fisher's getting interrogated, and he's like, "Oh, I'm insured for kidnapping up to however much money it was."
Aye, but no, I mean, I think this scene was probably was good because the zero gravity aspects of it all.
Yeah,
I mean, it was the scenes with that where he had to plant the C4 for the kick to come back, and then he's having to fight off those guys at the same time and plant the C4. And that was great. There's also a funny scene as well in it where we've got Ariane, we've got what's his name in it, Arthur, kind of sitting in the reception at the hotel, and the NPCs, non-playable characters, for anyone who doesn't know what that means, know that there's something wrong within the dream because Mr. Charles is talking to Fisher at the same time. They're in the reception. They know there's a shift in some way, and then they're all looking at the kind of people who don't belong there, essentially. And then Arthur asks Ariande for a kiss, and then the kiss, and then she goes, "Does it work?" And he goes, "Nah, but it's worth a try." So I found that.
Was there a lot of setup for a relationship between them, or was it like they have a few conversations, but there wasn't really any kind of build up to that, or was it more just for the comedic moment?
I think it had more comedic moments. That was for. I don't think it was ever set for or anybody was ever set for a kind of romantic relationship in there. I think it's all kind of action based.
So something that's obviously going to come up later is the bit when the van's kind of slowly falling backwards into the water. That's obviously because if that bit could prove to be potentially a bit confusing, I suppose, if you weren't paying attention. But the whole like how 1 minute in real life is like 40 minutes in the dream or whatever the numbers were. So that would be why, obviously, why that was falling so slow over a period of time, is because that was in the real world, whereas they were in the dreams.
Aye.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more. There's a lot more coverage in a dream state than it is in the real world. And the reason why zero gravity, for those who you're unsure, the reason why the zero gravity is happening in Arthur's dream is because the van's skidding and it's falling over the bridge. So that then translates and moves into their dream, just as like when Cobb fell into the water came through the walls of that dream. So it kind of carries itself over to the next dream level.
Yeah, that was as I've said earlier, like when what's happening in the real world seeps into the dream, because it's what happens, isn't it? Like dreams are like truly like I've actually considered starting to make like a kind of dream journal. You ever considered it?
Nah, I mean I mean sometimes you can never remember a dream, though, can you?
But the idea is you keep it like a notepad beside your bed and you just jot it down, like
just wake up, put it down.
While you remember it, because like dreams are often described as like you're trying to hold sand in your hands and it's just kind of like draining through your fingers. That's like how quickly it disappears.
In my I was going to say one of my socials. I don't want to tell you which one it is, but there's a quote that I've had since this came out. So I've got it here. So it's dreams, they feel real when they're in them, right? It's only when we wake up when we realise that something's actually strange. So that is true.
I like that. Like, I've had these discussions with friends before, and it's like, cause similar to how Mal feels in this film. It's like, who's to say that the dreams aren't real and this is the dream? You know.
That's why I've got my trusty. What do you call it again?
I've got my special coin.
My special 50p piece that I got made for me in Mombasa.
You should start carrying it everywhere with you.
Aye, then I can
just to keep yourself grounded, you know.
Just spin it. That's what I need to do.
No, but it is a really interesting concept. Like, who is actually to say whether like this is the real world or whether? Don't worry, I'm not going to turn into Mal, but you know, that is interesting. Something I'd like to learn more about.
Well, we'll come on to dream sharing later on because that's one of my questions for you. So the whole purpose of Mr. Sharrow's really in this dream state was to get confidence for him. It was to provide a wee bit of security. It was to provide. It's basically trust. So it was needed in order for the Inception process to move forward, because if Fisher could then trust Cobb, then again that helped for later on when we try to get the Inception planted in to the mind. So again, as we move on to the next dream level, Seto's condition, worsens quite, but as the dream goes on, though, it doesn't seem that bad in the dreams. He seems to be getting better, but essentially he is still dying in the first layer of the dream, which will then essentially how he'll die through the rest of the dreams.
Can I just add that I found him such a likable character, Seto. He just seems like a really decent guy.
I want to come on to which one you preferred or what one you like best and things, but I liked him as well, mate, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So the third level dream is Eames' dream. It's a snow-covered fortress. It's the objective is to break into the fortress to plant the idea of dissolving Fisher's father's company. So it takes place in a kind of snowy, cold fortress, which I found out was based on one of the James Bond films.
Yeah, I saw that in that same video I was talking about.
I didn't watch the video. It's just like IMDb. I seen this, so I'm crediting IMDb.
You just knew that. To give you credit, I feel like I'm understanding the structure of the film a lot better under your guidance than I did when I actually watched it. But saying that, because of my misremembering, I probably have only watched this once. I'm going to assume you've seen this quite a few times, and that it's a film you get to know better over multiple viewings.
I've seen this film many a time, mate. Many a time.
I did buy the DVD, so I've got it on DVD now.
That's testament to your commitment, mate. I do.
Yeah.
I gave you the DVD, mate, but there's no way I'm traveling.
I like, obviously, it's all well and good if you've got it. Things like we're reviewing on a streaming service, but it's actually quite nice getting them, because then I've got like a collection of like the films we've reviewed in physical copy, so I'll always have them, you know.
That's it.
It's just an opportunity, guys. Buy physical media because it's cool, and also support your local cinemas.
Well, we can want a wee segment at the end, mate, about your local cinema. I was saying, Eames' dream, snowy fortress, and it's basically it is armed. There's guards everywhere, which I found this scene very good actually. We've got Eames trying to take away the guards, chase him elsewhere so they can infiltrate the actual fortress. We've got Seto, who is now badly struggling. He's kind of doing what he can, but he can't really move anywhere. So see this scene here. Also, we get to the bit where they go into the fortress, and then we've got the reintroduction of Mal as well, who Cobb can see from afar because he's outside looking in. He's looking in where Fisher is in Mal. Yeah. What was your take before we go into the fourth level dream? What was your take on that whole scene of the action-packed snowy fortress, and did you find that quite a tension builder?
Yeah, well, from previous reviews, action's not my personal favorite genre. Obviously, we've discussed this when it comes to, like, you and Paul love your action movies, but I'm always more into like the kind of character developments and different things. So I wasn't really maybe that fussed about the kind of action side of it, because I was more just wanting to get to like the nitty gritty of like the characters and getting the memory planted. I think out of all the kind of levels, I think this is maybe my least favorite. Maybe that might be controversial, but I quite liked the one in the rain, and I liked the one in the hotel. I think this is maybe just by that point. There was a bit too many kind of NPCs, because there was so many like people. There's so many people like dying, but you didn't really care a lot about a lot of them. Obviously, apart from like Fisher and Mal and things like that. But what did you make of this bit?
No, mate, I've got to agree with you. I think this is maybe the weaker Dream State. I think, I'm not saying I'm not criticising it at all, really. I just think compared to the first and second where Dreams, I do think this was the weakest of them all, but again, still vitally important, isn't it? I like the character building as well, mate. Don't get me wrong. I'm no saying it's no important or whatever. I just think
No, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that I don't know what it is with me. I tend to lose focus a wee bit when there's too long an action sequence. I don't mind short, sharp action sequences, but see if there's not dialogue going on or no, it's just kind of action for action's sake. I kind of do tend to switch off a wee bit. It's just a personal preference.
Oh, it's perfectly fine, mate. I think it's like a good blend of it all, really. This film. In regards to this scene, I did think it was the weakest of the dream states, but because it was more like just hurry up and go on to get in, because the film is. I didn't actually say the runtime of the film. I need to go back and check it, but
2 hours 30.
So it's quite a long film, and you're thinking it's like third level dream. You're getting near the end, but as much as you think you'll get near the end, it still wasn't. You're getting so close, but get so far. So I just wanted to get over with and then kind of move on a wee bit, to be honest with you. But it's not a criticism. I just think it was just weaker than the last.
Sounded like a criticism.
I know you want to say that. It's not a criticism. Not a criticism.
No, Christopher Nolan has unsubscribed.
Christopher Nolan, please don't unsubscribe from the channel. No, so this film, this scene here, obviously the idea is to plant Inception. Inception was to let him believe that his true intention was to become his own man and not live in the shadow of his father, which would essentially would be him. If he's left in the shadow of his father, then the company would still be the company it is. The idea was for Fisher to become his own person because he was capable of that. So that is what the idea was to be planted. And he didn't have to live his father. He didn't have to but also it was a little more complicated than that. As I said, Sato was basically, he is not doing very well, but he still takes part in the mission. He still obviously knows the severity of it all and how much he wants this empire to be broken up. So he still takes part and does what he can. This is where we see Mal. So before Fisher can interact with his father, if you will, Mal appears and Mal shoots Fisher and kills him.
Pesky Mal.
Pesky Mal indeed. So Mal basically shoots Fisher and sends Fisher into limbo. And basically that's the Inception heist finished. It's like pack up and leave type thing. But Ariadne had the other plans. So Ariadne said basically they could fall into limbo by the next dream state. Because I don't know, again, this was after maybe I don't know, second viewing or whatever, third viewing, because I thought to myself, why can they just enter limbo? Why? How can they? So surely for them to enter limbo, they would just need to kill each other and then fall into it, then get settled. But when I rewatched it, you know, Yusuf did say that the third layered dream was the as far as they said it could go. Anything else other than that would fall into limbo. So they voluntarily went into limbo to get him, to find him.
I'm so glad that you're guiding through this.
I'm doing my best, mate, to be honest with you. So what was your take on because Mal obviously wants Dom Cobb all to herself. She wants him to return back to the her reality, which is limbo, and she was doing that with any means necessary, to ruin any sort of mission he was on, to, you know, just so he would come back to her. What was your? I don't know if I asked this already, mate, but what was your take on Mal shooting Fisher? Was that a shock? I know you maybe expected to see her back again, but for me, it was like, well, I didn't expect her there. It was kind of like, well, again shooting him. I didn't expect it to happen at that point in time.
She basically appeared on every level, so I didn't really think about it at the time, but I probably did expect her to come back. You can view Mal as like an antagonist or just like a baddie, pun intended, because of the translation. But you obviously do find out that Cobb was like quite a lot responsible for what happened to her and like her mental state, because he used Inception on her in the first instance.
Aye.
So it's like a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense.
Well, you obviously ready with guilt as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what happened.
because like you obviously find out, like, was it Arthur said that she was lovely like when she was alive. So she was obviously a good person whose mind just got warped by the use of Inception and essentially being trapped in a basement, for want of a better phrase. So like he obviously wants to be back with her as well for most of the runtime. So they're kind of both trying to get back to each other in a sense.
Aye.
Although as the film progresses, he realizes that he does need to move on and that the priority is getting back to his kids. So no, I wasn't surprised to see her because she obviously was a recurring character in that sense, and there would need to be some kind of resolution. But it is still quite tragic how it works out.
Oh, it's quite sad.
It does remind me a lot of the bit in Shutter Island when Leonardo DiCaprio's wife, she killed the children.
She drowned them.
Sorry for the spoilers for Shutter Island, but there is quite a lot of similarities there. What came first? Did this come first?
Shutter Island came first, I'm sure.
So I wonder if maybe that did provide some ideas for that kind of element of the film.
I mean, Shutter Island, she drowned the children, and obviously there is similarities certainly.
Well, we also did a review of Shutter Island. Very first time James collaborated with us, actually.
That's right. Before I came a regular, or a part of Seismic Cinema, I should say. So at this point, obviously, the Fisher's in limbo now. It's everyone wants to kind of pack up and leave. They're quite happy to kind of kick back to reality, but it's Ariadne who wants to kind of go back and find Fisher. At this moment in time, what happens is that the van's off the bridge. The stability of the dreams is caving in. Avalanches are coming down on the fortress, which symbolises that. But Ariadne convinces Cobb to head down to limbo, ultimately to face his wife. Kind of want to say nemesis as such, but he's got to face the truth. So that's where him and Ariadne move to The fourth level, which is Limbo, is a chaotic, unconstructed dream space shared by all team members who enter it. The objective here is to retrieve Sato and Fisher and confronts, because Sato's he's dead as well, because he basically throws a grenade, and then it's like a Die Hard moment, isn't it? Was it Die Hard?
Yeah.
Is it Die Hard? No, it's Terminator 2 I'm thinking of.
Another movie you reviewed. We also reviewed Die Hard 1 and 2.
God, but it's when Dyson's got the you call it the remote for the bomb, and he's kind of dying. That's what it reminded me of. Anyway, they want to get Fisher and Sato confront Cobb's unresolved issues with Mal. So that's what you had to go and do. So this is obviously important. A lot happens here. A lot. Did you like? Well, I say maybe a bad word to use here, but what was your thoughts, opinions on Limbo then? When they entered Limbo, did you understand what was going on with it? Do you think that maybe I don't know what I'm trying to say here, to be honest with you. It was required. A lot of the scenes in there. Did you get maybe went too long?
I think generally speaking, I did find the film quite long. I think maybe if it'd been about 2 hours, that might have been. But then do you make this scene the third dream and get rid of the fortress one? I don't know. Maybe there's just three dreams rather than 4. I think there had to be some kind of resolution with Mal and Cobb. I think that was important, and you obviously had to see what happened to the other characters. I don't know if you needed to come there, but hey, I'm not a director or a writer, so it was obviously. I think it was just Ariadne's. There was a lot of her own kind of personal interest in going there.
I think you're right. I think you're right as well. I think she had an inkling, she wanted to experience it, because she was very keen. She was all for it from the get go. Do you know what I mean? When Cobb brought Ariadne into it, so
because they were so confident that she would, because she went away and then they're like, oh, she'll be back, because she's intrigued by it all. Do you know another reason why they maybe went to Limbo?
What's that?
Because that's where you might find what's the script.
I knew that was coming. Well done, mate. So if you are ever in a dream within a dream within a dream, and you somehow get shot or you die in that dream, you will fall into limbo. And in one of the memories that Cobb has built, you will find what's the script. And just make sure
quintessential Scottish comedy movie podcast. They are not sponsors of this episode, but we like them. We share a group chat. Our group chat's like sharing a dream. Our group chat's basically Limbo, isn't it?
Pretty much, aye.
Shared experience.
Although with the Rangers chatting now, it seems like I'm in a nightmare, but never mind. You'll find what's the script in one of the buildings that Cobb shaped by his memories in there. So if you do find what the script in those memories, then make sure you kick them back to reality and get listening to them. Anyway, that advert's done now. We can move on. So we can.
I was thinking of that earlier in the episode. I was like, we need to slot them in somewhere.
I didn't even know we were done, mate. You've done that twice. You've done it now. You're done. So the objective is also to find Sato and Fisher. Mal's got Fisher out in the balcony, and she is only letting Fisher go with Ariadne if Cobb was to stay. That's the only drawback. Cobb has to stay with Mal, and she'll let Fisher go. So she takes him back to the kicks, because by this time, and I probably should have said, the music is playing all through the dream levels, and the music that plays is just a reminder. You want to do a wee singing?
No.
No, I thought you were going to do it.
That's been stuck in my head all morning, though, by the way.
The song actually is Non Janie Regret Rain. I probably butchered that. No regret. There you go. That's my version of it.
Oh, what? Copyright, stop.
So you know the song, guys. So that's the song that's played throughout the kicks. In order to, as it gets louder, then that's when the kick must get through the dreams to go back to reality. So the music plays, her and Fisher fall from limbo to essentially kill themselves, to then kick through the dream layers. Cobb stays, speaks to Mal, basically the truth comes out, that he planted Inception and the reality is not reality and all that sort of thing, which is a bit of a... When that came out about how he knows it's possible because he's done Inception before, that's how he knew it could happen. It's a bit of a, I don't know, a twist, isn't it?
See, related to that scene, though, we didn't really talk in detail about the kind of balcony scene. That was horrendous, wasn't it? She basically called the cops to say that he was like abusing her.
Aye.
So that he would end up going to jail, and she's like, "Oh, it doesn't matter anyway because, like, this is where you want to end up." But he was thinking more of the kids and what would happen to them because he obviously knew she was going to die because it was the reality.
Well, that's it. Obviously, we've missed out a few of the scenes. We've got the window scene. We've got the train track scene as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's why the trains keep appearing in the dreams.
Aye. So there's a kind of multi-layered aspect to that as well. Do you know what I mean, of what's happened before and memories coming back, and so it is truly a complicated film. That's for sure.
Aye, because they're on the train tracks, and then that is a dream. So when they get ran over, they wake up.
That's right.
As their younger selves, and then that's when Mal starts questioning. That's when she essentially starts going a bit crazy with it because she's convinced that she's still in a dream.
That's it. She's no in tune to reality, and
Can I share a funny wee anecdote? So I was watching this, and I'm very prone to getting tired, so I do occasionally have wee naps during films. Not because I'm not enjoying the films, just because I'm getting old. But we needed something that Morrison's here, and the inn shuts at 10 o'clock, and we needed something before
10 o'clock
night time. So I went to Morrison's, having just finished watching this. Because I think I finished watching it, had a wee nap for 10 minutes, and then I went to Morrison's, and I was just walking around Morrison's, and I was just thinking the irony of how I was walking about in like a dream state, like, is this real? as I'm going around Morrison's. I was like, I've just watched Inception. Like,
Oh no, I totally get that. I think we've all had kind of even this morning when I woke up, I was like, I'm actually knackered here, and
isn't naps are so great when you like do them, but how bad do you feel afterwards?
Like my body's also on all sorts. I don't know why that is.
I can really relate to the kick aspect when you have a nap and all of a sudden you wake up and your heart's racing and you just feel weird, man.
Aye, I did read that your body's sore and things after it because you have to have a certain amount of time to sleep. Before, if you don't, I don't know. It's just science. It's science.
It's 20 minutes, not like the optimum nap time.
I think so. Anything less
science.
Than that, anyway, what was I?
I talked about Mal or Cobb, like using Inception on Mal. That was where we got from.
So that's how I knew it's possible. he stays with Mal, basically tells her everything, and then that's where it seems like two things happening simultaneously here. So we've got what's his name, Fisher, coming back through. He goes into the vault, sees his dad, speaks to him, gives him the wee kind of windmill thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Is that in the film before, or is it just meant to be like something that he made as a child or something?
I think it's just memories of a child, something that he made.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was I don't know his interpretations here, but I think that's him being able to be his own man. He doesn't. This word disappointed was thrown in there as well, wasn't it?
It's a shame that they didn't get to, because obviously he probably saw his dad totally differently there. It's a shame that they didn't have that opportunity to build on that, because they obviously didn't seem to have a very close relationship when his dad was there. So then, but he's maybe misinterpreted that relationship a bit.
Possibly, aye. You kind of know that anyway, because when at the start when the plane, when you get Fisher, it's like I'm sorry to hear about your father. He was an inspiration, and his reactions to that was like, oh, like thanks. It seemed like a chore having to go to get his body. You know that way.
Yeah.
It seemed like more of a chore. So that's happened at the same time. He sees his father, talks to him, and then at the same time as that, which I'm led to believe, I could be wrong here, is that we've got Cobb finding Sato, bringing him back again from the screen read that we had at the start there. You know, he sees Sato as an old man due to the limbo time dilation, and then we've got the mission to bring him back to reality. And again, they'll get through the kicks. Cobb comes back, but you don't really see what happens. Saito reaches his gun, doesn't he? So we don't really know if we can only assume that they shoot one another. I could be wrong there. Again, I don't know.
So Sato comes back as an old guy in the scene, which is also the first scene in the film.
Correct, yes.
So we do see Cobb and Mal old just from behind. They obviously didn't want to have to like hire an actor just for the one scene. But how come Sato was old in that scene, but DiCaprio wasn't old? Is it because he like died and went back to his younger self?
No, I think because he was there in limbo longer.
Who was?
Sato.
Sato was in longer.
Aye.
So how long was he there, really?
I don't know. But again, remember what we said, the time just is distorted, isn't it? So we don't know. So 1 minute, whatever, in the real world is like an hour. And so that's multiplied even further, I think, through the dream levels.
I think in the one sense, this is a film that makes you think a lot, but I think in some senses, maybe just shut off your brain a wee bit and just accept what happened.
I can't do that, mate. I need to be on it. So
Well, going back to that YouTube video I was talking about, the Christopher Nolan didn't actually do any proper research into dreams because he felt like if there was something he wanted to write about, he would feel like he would have to change it to suit reality, whereas he wanted it just to be
what he thought,
based on his own ideas.
I like that. I do like that. So they awake on the plane. They've all, they smell each other. They know that it's happened. So you get a wee kind of, I don't know, just a smile, don't you? Whatever. There's no dialogue as such. And you see Sato making the phone call because he's the one that promised that Cobb
go
back to reality and basically say, you know what, you can see your kids again without being arrested. Dropped all the charges. So they claim baggage, and you can see Fisher looking at Cobb like he was the my bloody dream there. You know what I mean? So, and that's all he's seen. Walk through the airport security. You're fully expecting the border patrol or whatever they're called to flag up Cobb as a fugitive. Welcome to the country, Mr. Cobb. And then the scene cuts to the house. It's important here to say as well, we don't really ever see their faces, the kids, during these dreams. And that's just due to the fact that Cobb, because we see the kids through Cobb's eyes, we don't really see it through our own. And he doesn't want to see their faces because he wants to see them in reality.
Yeah.
It won't not be the same. So we come to the cottage, house, whatever it is. Michael Caine's there. Bring the kids through. The kids turn around and see him. As that's happening, he spins his totem, which is basically the device that we have that tells us we're dreaming or it's reality. He spins his totem, and he goes and sees his kids. That's on the background. You see his kids. You can hear the dialogue happening, but in the foreground, you can see the totem. The totem is still spinning. But if it's still spinning, it means it's. You remember?
A dream.
If it stops, then it's reality.
Yeah.
And then, it cuts as if the totem's about to fall, but we'd never see it falling.
I'd like to think it was reality.
So Christopher Nolan intentionally left it ambiguous.
You love an ambiguous ending, don't you?
I do, mate. Although I firmly believe, and I'll tell you why I'm even more so now, that I just like a happy ending, mate. Do you know what I mean? I just like the idea of everything coming together. That old plan came to fruition, and he got to see his kids again. I just like that idea. But then when I read up on it, Michael Caine's on a few scenes. The reason for that is because Christopher Nolan told him that every scene that he is in is reality. Michael Caine is in the end scene, therefore, going by that logic, it is reality, and that it was not a dream.
Let's just go with that then, eh?
I think I'm happy with that, mate. I'm happy with that. So what do you think of the ambiguous ending then, mate? I know you just kind of said there, but I've kind of went on one and just kind of went through it all. But
I think we've got slightly different views on ambiguous endings. I think I prefer. I like the cleverness of the concept, but I quite like there being a definitive end, if I'm honest. So I'd be happy. See if it was just a dream, him getting to see his kids and getting away from law. I don't really feel like that's a satisfying resolution, because then what was the point in going down into the kind of limbo state if he wasn't going to get that resolution? So I would like to think that he did.
Aye, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like ambiguous endings just because it gives someone
discussion, yeah.
And then folk will have different interpretations of how a film ended or how it started or whatever it may be, and I think it's good. And that's like the ambiguous aspect of the Pulp Fiction briefcase. We don't know what's in it. We've had various,
we know what's in it.
We know what's in it, but other folk might not think that. So that's a topic of discussion. So I do like things like that, but I understand why you like definitive endings at the same time.
I don't hate it. I just if I was asked to choose, I would go for this is the end,
which is also a film that.
That wasn't intentional, but yeah.
I know. Anyway, you can find This Is the End as a What's the Script podcast.
We are not endorsed by them, by the way.
No. Right, okay, so before I move into scores, mate, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So we've discussed the film in great detail. We've also spoke about the character. So before we move on, I want to ask about what you think about dream sharing, and would you share dreams with other people if you had the opportunity to? Well, who's your favourite character in the film?
My favourite character in the film? Probably just go by what I originally said. Say he's just a good dude. Although he's really the one that's got Cobb to do this mission. He's like commissioned him. He puts himself on the front lines and just gets involved the whole way through, and he's just like, he just comes across as a really good dude. So I'll go with Sato.
I'm going to go for Eames, Tom Hardy's character.
The chameleon.
I think he's quite calm. He's he's controlled. I think he's also funny. He brings a lot of the humour to it. I mean, there's not a lot of humour to be said really, but it just the banter between him and Arthur.
Yeah,
it's quite good. I don't know if there's maybe jealousy there or whatever, but
I liked Arthur as well. And let's be honest, I was talking to my wife about this. Have you ever seen Leo in a subpar film?
Nah, mate. He's for see during this film and this time, I've always said that DiCaprio was the best actor on the planet.
I think he's the best there's ever been, to be honest.
Like, I've got a lot of time from him, man. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Robin Williams is maybe the only one that runs him close for me.
Aye. No, he's never been in a bad film at all, mate.
What makes me wonder, like, does he only sign on for like the most top quality directors and scripts, or is it him that elevates the projects he's in? Like, would this be as good without him? Would Wolf of Wall Street be as good without him? Is it him, or is it the projects he signs on to, or a bit of both? Probably.
I say it's a bit of both. I mean, the reason why they ask him to do these films because he knows how the quality he can bring to it. His range of acting is great. It's phenomenal, mate. Even like, obviously, we've done Titanic recently, and we watched it recently as well. Which I just think he was great in that. He was great in that. And then if we move on to films like, I don't know, Shutter Island, again, more psychological. We've got this
Wolf of Wall Street, again, totally different character.
Absolutely.
The Revenant I saw, I wasn't that fussed by. Like, to me, like Wolf of Wall Street or Shutter Island would have been better ones for him to win his awards for, in my opinion.
I thought Revenant was fantastic, mate, and Tom Hardy and that was good as well.
Again, I've not seen it since it came out in the cinema, but out of that and Wolf of Wall Street, which I think were quite similar time frames, I'd have thought Wolf of Wall Street would have been a good one for him to get his award, you know.
Don't get me wrong, mate. I think there's other films he could have got an award for, and The Revenant would have been lower down on that list. But I'm just glad he got one eventually, mate, because he bloody deserves it. So that's Eames is my favourite character. It's just he brings a bit of funny.
Yeah, I'll go for Sato then.
See the bit that I found funny as well. Eames is in the warehouse and he's like, you've got Arthur shooting with his wee gun outside, and Eames goes like, "You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling." And he brings out a grenade launcher and shoots the guys after the building. So that was good.
I think it's definitely one to watch again now that I've got a better handle on, thanks to yourself, on the structure. Maybe not this week, but
I'm hoping I've helped it some. I don't know if I've helped that much. But
it's an ambitious one for us to tackle anyway. So
well, hopefully other folk enjoy it as well. Right, so before we wrap up, mate, and get scores, I just want to get your thoughts on dream sharing.
So is it my thoughts on it, or whether I would want to do it, or a bit of both?
A bit of both, mate.
Unless I actually had the dream diary I was talking about, I don't feel like I really remember enough of my dreams for them to be of interest to anyone who wanted to see them. And also, because your subconscious is in control, I don't really think I would want somebody seeing like a version of reality where I have no control over what people see. So I would vote no, but I think I'm interested in the studying of dreams. So whether it should happen with people who are willing to do it, for people to learn more about dreams and how they work, it's certainly something I'm quite fascinated by.
Aye, yeah, it is interesting for sure. I mean, I would like to try it. You know what I mean? I would like to go, right, let's say, let's dream about this, and then like even as we dream anyway, we forget loads of stuff. There'll be stuff we remember, then there'll be stuff we forget, and then as the day goes on, sometimes something will trigger us and go, "Oh, fuck, I remember that happened in the dream," and you start to remember these things. But if there's more people in the dream you share with, then
Yeah,
you can maybe
it,
remember them more. And
it would have to be I'd say like a very close friend, like someone you really trust.
enough said, mate. Right, okay, mate. So, I'm going to, well, before I go into the Twitter feedback and things, I want to get your seismic stars, mate. What is your seismic star for Inception? Seismic score star, I can't remember what we.
Seismic stars. Right. So I would probably go on balance. I'd probably go for an 8 out of 10.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And I like the characters. I like the concept. It's a really kind of unique concept. I like as we talked about, the kind of bend in reality, the outside world seeping into the dreams. Where I kind of took the points off, one point I would say and we talked about this, maybe it's a wee bit on the long side,
Right.
which obviously links into the scene with the kind of snow, the kind of snow part of the heist, which we both said was a bit that maybe not as strong as the other bits. The other point I would take off, and this is obviously by design, this just probably says more about me, is that there's just so much to get your head around that you're maybe spending a lot of the film just trying to work out what's happening, and maybe you're then losing focus on other details of the film. But that's just a personal thing for me. I've never seen Tenet, that Paul often talks about as being extremely confusing, so maybe it's better I stay away from that one. But yeah, I think just maybe a wee bit too long, and maybe just a bit. I say a wee bit too much to dissect, but I suppose that's what made it a good film to review, and I didn't enjoy reviewing it. And I think on a rewatch, I could probably score it at a 9 because I would have that kind of like understanding of what's going on. But I loved all the stuff between like Cobb and I've been saying her name the whole episode and I've forgotten it. Cobb, don't tell me. Cobb and Mal.
Oh, Mal. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I liked all that kind of stuff. A lot of the action sequences, like the zero gravity scenes, are cool. Yeah, so I'll go with that. I think just a wee bit too long, a wee bit too confusing compared to like other films that I would not maybe normally watch. But there's a lot of great stuff in there in terms of like the concept and the characters and the action, some of the action and that kind of thing. So I'm quite happy going for an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Must say as well, I need to caveat this is, as we do our reviews and we give our scores out of 10, it's not just, we don't compare it to any other film and we rank it that way. It's just purely based on the film itself and how
Yeah.
we enjoyed it, or we're not comparing it to anything. So that's something that we always have to kind of say, because we never really rank the films as such.
Yeah, we're not comparing this to Phantom Menace, which came before it.
No. Me now, I know it sounds like I criticised the film a little bit during it. I mean, I did say that the third dream level was the weakest one of them, but that doesn't mean that it was bad. If that makes sense.
Yep. It was the weakest of what was there, but you still enjoyed it.
Aye, absolutely. It was integral to the whole plot. Now I'm going to give this. Now I feel like I give films that I review 10 out of 10 quite frequently. But I don't want to be doing that.
Just treat this as its own thing, as you said.
I know. I'm going to give this 9.75.
That's a first.
9.75. So everything you've said, mate. Do you know what I mean? It was a seen the pictures, it was just amazing to see the visuals, and no one really gave credit much to the score either. Hans Zimmer's score was phenomenal during it. It created tension, and it really kind of emphasised the whole plot as well. So that was also good. And never mind the songs that we used to kick them through the dream states. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. So 9.75, mate. Everything you've said. I don't mind the film being too long, to be honest with you. I've seen films a lot longer than that. I remember seeing the pictures, mate, and it didn't seem that long.
Yeah.
Because I was engrossed in it. Do you know what I mean? I was like totally immersed in what was the film. I felt I was part of it.
When you go to cinema, see when you're watching a long film in the house, see with the ability to like pause it and just doing other day-to-day tasks you need to do. Like, I think when you are occasionally pausing it to do bits and pieces, go to the supermarket, for example, it maybe does make it feel longer rather than if you just watched it in the cinema the whole way through.
Aye, that would be. You've got the opportunity to pause it. You will pause it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's always there. All right, man. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Before we sign off, I'm going to kind of go over a few of the Twitter comments and stuff. I know we did aim to do this last week, so I'm just going to go back over. So thoughts and opinions on Inception. We've got Stu from Stu World Order. I was really prepared to think this was overrated and not as impressive as I had heard. Well, I was wrong. This movie is intense, and I was 100% invested and engaged. Gripping and exciting and emotional. It's weird that this movie ended up being everything it was cracked up to be. So, absolutely.
And Paul's going on with Stu in a couple of weeks' time to do The Watchmen, is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's a good film, that. Have you seen it?
Would you? No.
No,
I haven't seen it. No.
I've not seen it.
Is it a horror? Yeah.
This is a horror such. No, it's a graphic novel. Alan Moore. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe check it out at some point.
I read the graphic novel years ago, and then I seen the film when it came out. I think it's a horror. Anyway, Infinity Bros podcast said the first cinema movie that I can remember seeing in the theatres. It blew my mind as a teenager, and is still one of my favourite Nolan films today. Now I need to rewatch it. Well, I'm glad that we got you to rewatch the film. You can tell us what you think about the podcast, man, if we've done it justice at all. Also got Dan from Casting Views.
Legend.
We've been both on his podcast as well. So he says it's one of my favourite films and have held that view since release. I saw it in the cinema and was blown away by the effects and the production of it. It got a great assembled cast who play their part perfectly, in my opinion. I especially like Tom Hardy in this. Well, me too, Dan. He's my favourite character in it. The whole setup of the dream within a dream story I thought was fascinating, and again, done really well. I had a great soundtrack and ending, which I know was divisive, but personally I thought the most apt ending that film could have. Also, those zero gravity fight scenes were just thrilling to watch. So, thanks very much, mate, for your comments. Do appreciate it. That's all we had. Just those three. But if you do have
quality over quantity.
Well, that's it. And they were quality comments, mate. You can't deny that. If you do have any thoughts, comments, opinions on how we have came across though today and the episode, then let us know. You can share your views with us, and you can do that by contacting us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Again, you can find us, watch, listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other places that you can get your podcast from. We're up to 139 subscribers now on YouTube, so it's a good wee number. So thank you for that, folks. Thanks for those who have subscribed.
One away.
Well, we're trying to get to 150. The aim is for June, but we're happy to extend that deadline. So if you could just share and just tell your friends and enemies about us, then it'd be nice for us to get to 150 subscribers on YouTube. And So we've done it. buymeacoffee.com/Seismic Cinema. You can donate money to help the money to go towards Gary's new microphone. And lastly, we are part of the PodPack collective. We shout out to the independent podcasters out there who try to make a good wee community for those who are all independent and try to make the podcast world better. Okay. Have I missed anything, Colin, other than the Seismic Cinema's slogan that I know you're going to...
Our slogan is the power of waking up from a nap to go to Morrison's after watching Inception.
It is that, and it's also, we are Seismic Cinema, and we believe in the power of escapism. Okay. So if you don't have anything else, Colin, then I'm happy to sign off here.
Yep, all good.
Okay, folks, thank you for listening and watching, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Ciao.
Bye.